We're back. Round 3. Today we're talking about, wait, John, what are we talking about?
We're talking about yeast.
Whoa, okay.
Great organism or the greatest organism?
Great organism or the greatest? Let's talk about yeast and where yeast fits into this process.
Well, I think yeast is probably hands down the most important part of making beer. You know, we talked about barley, how you need a sugar source.
Yes.
We talked about hops, how you need a bitterness source.
Yes.
But what's the point of making all that sugar if you can't make some alcohol? But that's where yeast comes in, because that's their job. They take simple sugars. They can take glucose, maltose, maltose, are the 3 main sugars in beer, and convert it into ethanol. And so they eat it as a food source, and then as a byproduct, basically they kind of just poop out alcohol. You know, is more or less the way that you can think about it.
Nothing sounds more appetizing than yeast eating stuff and crapping alcohol that we drink.
It's what they do. Yeah, they reproduce asexually. So you know, they just split in half. You know, but that's how they spend their lives, splitting in half and
pooping alcohol.
Pooping alcohol.
Yep.
So,
I mean, what a way to live. What a way to live.
But there's a lot more nuance to it than that, of course. A lot of the flavor that we have in beer is also from yeast. In addition to making alcohol, they make a variety of compounds, like known as esters or phenols. And all of these have flavors. The esters can be fruity flavors. Phenols can be like spicy flavors.
Ooh,
And this is all a byproduct of fermentation. But in Organism, we use predominantly lager yeast as a lager-focused brewery. And lager yeast is a different species than ale yeast. And they purposefully do not make a lot of flavor. They really do focus on just the fermentation part of making alcohol. Here at New Barons, we use a strain called 3470, which is an old German strain. And, we use it for...
Exclusively?
Pretty much almost exclusively. We do some ale still with another strain, but majority... 80+% of our beers are now made with that yeast strain.
Wow,
Our house strain.
And that is specifically done because of the lager thing? Or is
it is a lager yeast. Bread yeast is actually the same as ale yeast. So when you buy bread yeast at the store, it's the same species. But lager yeast is a different species that was only discovered somewhat recently, I guess, in the history of beer, back in like the 1800s.
Yes. So I was waiting.
History from the other day. We got to talk about history. Yes. In the 15th century.
Yes, I knew we were going to go far back.
What's fun about it is people, I mean, for the most part, humanity had no idea that yeast existed for the majority of beer production in humanity. So, like I said, it was about the 1800s or whenever that we finally had an understanding of microbiology. That we understood that there is actually a living organism that is making our beer.
That is literally pooping alcohol for us.
Right. Slowly but surely, humanity has selected the yeast that they prefer for our fermented spirits. So we truly have a symbiotic relationship with yeast, if you think about it that way. Because we've been dependent on them, they've been dependent on us since the beginning of civilization to make alcohol. And over time, we've just groomed them to make the type of alcohol that we wanted. You know? So, I get romantic about yeast. In that way.
You do.
It's thick, but it's like also airy at the same time, and that's because yeast, especially active yeast like we have here, another byproduct that makes is carbon dioxide. And so, in addition to
the bubbles,
the ethanol, it's also making gas, and so it gets it all bubbly. And some breweries actually capture that CO2 to replenish their CO2 supplies. Which is kind of cool.
What part of the process is this in, and how does it play into what we've been talking about?
This has been a good progression. So we talked about the mash at the beginning with barley. We talked about hops adding bitterness in the boil kettle. After we cool that boil kettle down and we move it into a fermenter, which is the cone tanks that are kind of behind me to the right. When it's cool is when we add the yeast. And so yeast are temperature specific. If we add it under the boil kettle, obviously we'd kill them all because they're boiling. Nothing
boiling
less than boiling water.
That's the international symbol of boiling and boiling yeast to death. Is this?
Our lager strain prefers 55 degrees Fahrenheit. As a starting point. So we pitch our lager yeast in there at 55 degrees. We hold it there for about 24 hours until it gets active. and then we let it free rise, which I mean, yeast makes heat when they are fermenting beer. It's an exothermic
all
reaction.
That asexual reproduction,
all
just
that,
heating it up.
All that pooping alcohol makes heat. And basically, we let the temperature rise to 70 degrees, and we hold it at 70 degrees. Fermentation takes anywhere from 3 to 7 days, about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we kind of let it, what you call condition, for like another week from there.
Okay.
And then we make the beer cold. And when we make the beer cold, we bring it down to like serving temp, basically. All the yeast falls out and renders at the bottom of the tank, at which point we remove it.
And weird question, do you reuse it?
Yes, we do.
Nice.
We've gotten as many as 5 generations in our brewery.
Oh, wow, okay.
Which I'd love to do more. Some breweries can get upwards of like 10 generations.
Holy crap, okay.
Yeast. And you want to do that because it's expensive.
I was going to say, make the most out of your dollar,
This stuff
right?
is made in the lab. They send it to you overnight in like a frozen, satchel pack
like
box.
like one of those styrofoam things
Yeah.
that emergency hearts are delivered in?
Not quite that high tech, but close. Yeah.
Okay, good.
But yeah, shipping's expensive as they overnight it.
Sure.
And if you're making it and you're happy with the fermentations it's doing, you might as well keep using it.
Yeah, keep using it.
So, and the yeast wants to stay alive, so.
And the yeast doesn't want to. They're like,
don't
no, let me keep pooping alcohol.
They don't want to go down the drain. So
yeah, that's great.
We help them out too.
All right, one completely random question that I had on that was, what is serving temperature for beer?
Like 38 degrees.
30, okay, all right. So
Yeah.
you bring it from 55 down to 38.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else we need to touch on for the great, I'm gonna just go ahead and throw it out there. It might be the greatest organism.
It's the greatest organism.
Poop and alcohol, I mean, just shoots you up the list, doesn't it?
Maybe you could argue dogs were domesticated first, but I think after that, like, yeast has been the
It was
most,
like in tandem, they
it's
were
been
being.
humanity's best buddy. Trillions of buddies. It's been humanity's best.
We have so many.
buddies.
We have so many titles. We could do this. We could call it poop and alcohol.
Poop and alcohol.
We could call it
Trillions of buds.
man's best friend.
Yeasty boys.
And then in parentheses, Yeasty boys.
Yeasty boys. So.
Oh God! All right. Well, this one has been the easiest one to brand. I would say the easiest one to tagline.
It's a fun one because you can't really see it. We have a jar of it, but you need a microscope to really see what they look like.
To see what's going on, and we'll see if we can find some cool
Yeah.
shit. All right, everybody, the greatest organism. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you in the next video.